Well, hello everyone. This is Sevilla I Love. And here we are on this channel, getting back to living and loving life again after a major life-altering loss, such as being widowed. Now, if you're new to this channel, it's the first time you've seen me. I am a psychotherapist. I am a coach and consultant, and I am a grief and loss specialist. I'm also a widow. I've had a ridiculous amount of loss by a very early age. Bring that expertise to the topics I speak to, on top of being able to help thousands of people around the world every day. Very privileged. So today we're going to be talking on a long-awaited subject, and that is the adult child of the widowed person. Now, if you are an adult child of a widowed person, this video is for you. Now, if you are a widowed person and you've been struggling with how your adult children have been responding to how you are living your life now as a widowed person, this video is for you. So pay attention. We're going to start this off with a letter that a viewer wrote in that I would like to share with you because I think it's a good jumping off point for all the discussion topics that are going to follow. So let's jump in.
Hold on, quick pause. People ask me all the time if I work with clients one-on-one. Yes, I do. I offer private coaching and consultation, and you can book with me anytime using the link in the description below. Now, back to the video.
Okay, so now this viewer wrote in. Their handle is 82 Nessie. And what they said was, my mom died last month, 20 days ago. I'm broken. And my dad, he's getting chased after by female friends who are either divorced or widowed too. For God's sake, why is it like he has a neon sign on him? I'm free. Come after me. Just today, 2 calls from different women, not even a month. And he acts like it's fun. And the next second, he's sad again. I have to keep everything in so he can fall apart or have fun making arrangements for everything. I planned the whole funeral, taking care of my mom's stuff, and he's getting chased after by women. I didn't think that acting like an 18-year-old at 70, so soon after his wife of 40 years, is the right thing. Okay, so I think, can you agree this is a good jumping off point? Because if you've had a parent that's been widowed, you're going to be asking yourself, what the hell? Now, if you're watching this, you probably have had an issue with how your parent is dealing with the loss of a spouse, of their spouse, of your parent, most likely your birth parent, or somebody who's raised you all your life that you consider your parent. And you might be feeling a little disgusted with your parent and how they're behaving. You might be incredulous of how could they be entertaining the possibility of another person so soon after my other parent died. It's confusing to you. You can't imagine. Did they have any feelings for them at all? Did they love them at all? And it's kind of embarrassing to see your elderly parent running around acting, as 82 Nessie said, like an 18-year-old at 70. How do you deal with that? Okay. Now, you might be the parent and you're making choices and doing things either out in the open or on the down low. You're either worried about your kids finding out about what you're doing and how you're doing it, or you're out in the open about it and cruising right along and don't understand what their problem is. Okay, so let's get into this. So this is a topic that I have, I don't know, been avoiding for a long time. And not because there aren't answers, but because it's complicated. And in order to have this discussion about your parents, your widowed parents' behavior, I have to address your loss. That needs to be acknowledged first. So allow me to do that. You lost your parent. You may have lost, in some cases, a best friend. You may have lost just the steady companionate person that's always been there, somebody you could always turn to, the person you couldn't imagine ever being without. Now they're gone. Now you may not have been terribly close to them. Maybe there's somebody you fought with a lot. Maybe there's somebody you had some disdain for at times. But they were the person you disdained. They were your parent. And you loved them despite the complications. And for those of you that were very, very close, you're struggling horribly just to get through the day knowing that you can't pick up the phone and call that person anymore. That the recipes that you wanted to check with, can't check on anymore. The things that need fixing in your house, and you want a little advice, that expertise, can't do that anymore. The loss you're experiencing is profound. Everything has changed. Your own sense of mortality now has changed. How you see yourself in the world. You're the grandparents that they're never going to get to be, to the children you don't yet have, or to the children you do have that they're going to have to grow up without. This is an incredibly huge, life-altering loss to lose your parent. I've lost both my parents too. I get it. And this is something that you need to hear. You guys, number one, lost the same exact person. That person you called parent, clearly, is the person that your remaining parent also lost. But what is not the same is the relationship that you lost. Those are totally different. You and your remaining parent lost something completely different, albeit the same person. What you didn't lose is the person you slept with at night, the person you kissed goodnight, the first person you talked to when you woke up in the morning, the person that you made love to, the person that you created life with, the person that promised to always be there for you till death do us part. And here we are at the death. Because you've lost a different relationship, what I want to suggest is you don't know what they are living without. Especially if they've been together for a ridiculously long time. You just don't, you can't know what they've lost. Now, I'm not trying to minimize what you have lost, but what we need to do between you and your remaining parent is to establish a line of understanding and compassion for as much as it's possible to, because we can't walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, can we? And I want to say this too, thank God you don't know what that remaining parent is going through or has gone through. Now, if you had a parent that was dying of a terminal illness, then most likely, now I know I can't speak to every story out there, and there's going to be those of you who have exceptions, and you're welcome to comment on those below this video. Please do share your story. But most likely, the remaining parent was the caregiver, and they were there through every pain, every cry, every sadness, every hospital trip, every doctor's visit, every medication distribution. And they had to watch this person that was once their young, beloved person slowly fade away, and maybe painfully so. Now, you may have helped with this process. You may have been one of the caregivers too. Maybe you guys all worked together in this scenario to care for the loved one that was crossing over inevitably. Once you all came to the understanding and the acceptance that maybe death was imminent, something you all had to grieve together. You were grieving the same person, but not the same relationship. Now, you as an adult, you may be married or partnered, and maybe you go home tonight to your husband or wife, or you jump into bed and cuddle with your kids. That widow or widower is going to bed alone tonight. More alone than you can even fathom at this point what that feels like. I know what that felt like. Even if they died slowly, they're still here 1 minute and gone the next. And it rips something out of the widower, the widowed person, that can't be defined, because when you're married, there's this concept that you're two separate beings, but the two separate beings now become one when you're married. And in that becoming one, your identity gets wrapped up in that other person. You're Mr. or Mrs. So and so. This is our family. You come home to them at night. You wake up with them in the morning. All your life experiences are shared together. You don't have a memory without that person for however X many of years those married people have been together. Their identity gets deeply wrapped up in being the other half of that person. And now it's gone. And the world that's been shattered in the life of the widowed person is that they don't know who they are anymore. And now that they may be elderly, like I'm going to be senior citizen next year officially. I'm 54 this year. Next year I'll be 55. Once you're officially in the senior citizen realm, I guess we get to be called the elderly. You don't have a lot of life left to live. And if there's anything that life has taught a person in their senior years, is that it goes by really dang fast. And every moment is precious. And if they lost the person that they loved the most, then what they know is that no matter how much you love someone, your love is never going to be enough to keep them here. We can't cling to anything in this life, which means how we define things, how we define a relationship, the judgments we hold on others and how they should be living their lives. We can't cling to any of it because either we eventually change our minds, the thing that we loved and tried to hold on to goes away and is no more, it dissolves, it dies, it passes away, it leaves our lives. Everything in this world is made to be broken. Everything we will eventually have to let go of. And so what the elderly person knows that has lost that precious love is that you can't take it for granted. And that because it's so precious, they want more of it. Because they're still here and they realize that they're still alive. Holy crap, I still have 10, 20, 30 years left to live. And they're thinking, do I want to live it by myself? No, they don't want to live it by themselves. And they're not necessarily trying to replace the spouse that died. They just want to keep living because it's so painful to lose that person. And sitting with that pain every day, swimming around inside you like a tank of freaking piranhas, eating everything inside you, is a horrible place to be. Now, I'm not negating again the grief you are experiencing, the loss of your parent, but I want you to hear this is a different kind of loss because you lost a parent and you won't ever get that parent back again. But you'll go on and you'll be a parent yourself. You'll have your own life to live, your own person to love and to love you back, romantically speaking. And the widowed person feels such a hole and emptiness in the love department. It becomes this drive for survival because they feel like they're starving. And when you're starving, I know sometimes we'll eat anything if we're hungry enough, right? So you may be asking yourself, is my parent making some really bad decisions right now because they're grieving? And maybe you say, hey, I'm okay with them eventually moving on and maybe even finding love again. Maybe you're open hearted about that. But you're worried that your parents making some bad decisions because they're grieving, they're going crazy. Like, look, they're acting like they're 18 years old and they're not, they're 70. Well, here's the other thing. When we die and we cross over, if you talk to any person that's into that type of spirituality, and or if you have a dream of a loved one, more often than not, you know how you see them in the spirit world in a dream? They're 30 years old. They're young again. They're always young. I had a dream of my mom not too long ago. I'm like, look at you. You look like I never saw her that young. You look like you're like 25. My dad shows up. I see him in the spirit world in my dreams. And yes, I believe that we do that in the spirit world. We have visitations when we're in the dream state. We can, if they're loving, they're positive, and they're engaging and they feel very real. I believe those are visitations different from dreams. I see my father. He's young and he's robust and he's handsome. We're always young in our minds. It's these bodies that get old. Dang bodies aging. But we're still us inside. We're still the same person we've always been, the same desires and wants and needs. And now, if this adult parent who's been widowed now has this open road ahead of them that they don't have a script for anymore. Because they had a script when the spouse was alive. They knew what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to show up, how they're supposed to show up, what their name was, all of the things. They had it, it was defined. Now it's not defined anymore. And this is the third thing I want you to hear. And don't let it hurt you to hear, but just hear the rationale in it. It has nothing to do with you. And now maybe that's a pain point for you because you think they should be considering you and what you think and how you feel and your opinion on things because they're getting old and what do they think they're doing? Well, they may not be considering you as much as maybe they could because what they see right now is that they just got to find a way to be happy again. They just got to find something that's going to make them feel alive instead of dead inside after this loss. Something that's going to remind them that this world is still worth engaging in because maybe they wanted to die too after their spouse died. Maybe they just wanted to go right with them. Maybe they couldn't imagine how they were going to live without them. And now they're trying to find some reason. So maybe they're out there acting like an 18-year-old. What do 18-year-olds do? Well, because they have the world is their oyster. Everything is a possibility when you're 18 years old. And every elderly person could look back on their life and go, gosh, what could I do different if I could be 18 again? If I could age backwards, we could all be Benjamin Buttons. Well, we're not going to get to do that. But sometimes life gives us a new road we weren't expecting. And because we understand the preciousness of life, and it's not to be wasted, they might be jumping into wild things. Maybe they're out there trying psychedelics and smoking pot and meeting people to date. I mean, I don't know what kind of crazy they're spending your inheritance. That's topic number 4 is your concerns for their financial future or the stability of their future. Are they going to get taken advantage of by somebody? Are they so vulnerable that someone's moving in with them after 3 weeks and you can see that this person's kind of predatory? That happens, you know? Maybe you're not just a jealous child. Maybe you actually see something that is concerning and your parents not listening to you about it. Because maybe they are a little crazy with grief and maybe they are jumping the gun and going too quickly. Maybe you do feel responsible to have a talk with them about the choices that they're making. And so you can. Feel free to share your thoughts with your parent. You know, if somebody we love is we feel like is making a mistake, we want to tell them. But if we compare this to the 18-year-old, and let's go back and tell your 18-year-old self what to do and how to do it, where are you going to listen? Maybe. You may more likely look back on that time and go, gosh, I should have listened when they told me XYZ, but I needed to learn for myself. We are all in a stage of development, no matter how old we are. We're always in a state of becoming. And your parent right now, bad decisions or not, this is number 5. If they don't have dementia, then they're a whole ass adult, if I could speak in the vernacular. They're grown-ups. And if they want to spend the money that they've made in their lifetime wildly, dear God, it's hard to watch if you see they're making a mistake. But they have a right. And this is what I learned early on in my career as a therapist. People have a right to make bad decisions. So unless there's someone that should legally have their rights to decide taken away, the only choice you have is to step back. You share your thoughts, you share your concerns. But what should you do and how should you share it with the parent? So, rule number 1, share respectfully, which means it's not critical. It's not contemptuous. Okay? You don't know, even though you lost the same person, what this is like for them to go into the bathroom in the morning and see their toothbrush there, and they're not there to brush their teeth next to them like they did every morning, or to share that cup of coffee, or to say, hey, you left your dang socks on the floor again. I've been complaining about this for 35, 40 years, and you're still doing it. Again, not to minimize your loss. This is about bridging a gap between you and them and understanding of what this is like. Because we think when we lose the same person that there's a similarity between what we're grieving. And you're grieving different things. Now, I'm going to have some words for you as the parent towards your child. So don't worry about that. We're getting to you next. If you can withhold the judgment and the contempt and hold space for them to say, hey, I'm concerned about so-and-so that you're dating. You've got to watch out for online predators. They're everywhere. You want to educate them that way because they are people who aren't internet savvy can be vulnerable to that. We definitely want to watch out for internet scammers. Holy cannolis. It's bad. But if they're out there having a good time, we might have to just let them and know that this isn't desecrating your mother or your father's memory because they're daring to still live after the horrors of the loss they just went through. because they courageously think that after having their heart ripped out by a Mack truck, that they might actually be able to love again. Do you have any idea how courageous that is? To think that they might actually be able to have something good again if they're dating, even if it seems like they're being silly or irresponsible about it, or that they're entertaining or enjoying the attention of potential suitors. It's kind of exciting because that person probably was focused on their spouse for all the years of their life, and they didn't have thoughts of anybody else, or they certainly didn't entertain. They were loyal, and now it's not a issue of can't because of the commitment. Now it's, oh my God, it's possible. Holy, I could I could date somebody. Well, that's kind of an exciting thought. It's a scary thought. It's a terrifying thought. And the last time I dated, I was 18 years old. They might be saying that. They don't even know what they're doing, but they're living. Can we give them the grace and allow them to live and support them in that? Support them and know that this isn't about the desecration of a life that was lived, because them loving someone else or sleeping with somebody else or going on dates or any of that does not negate the love that they had. They can't be erased. Their eternal bond with this person can't ever be erased. This is love. This is energy, and it can't be destroyed. This this love and the story of their lives is not going to get erased because it happened. And they don't have to live a life of loneliness and sadness only dedicated to the other people around them to hold this narrative of the us that is physically no longer in this world. They can't do it. Yeah, some of them are going to want companionship, and they shouldn't feel guilty for it because it doesn't take anything away from you, because they still love you and they might be a little crazy right now. They might be a little wild and doing things you've never seen before because you've never seen them outside the context of the relationship that your parents had when they were both alive. Your dad or your mom is a person they don't even recognize. Never mind, you don't recognize them. They don't even recognize themselves. And they're having to try to recreate a sense of self after decades of being someone who's defined by something that doesn't exist anymore. They're lost at sea and they've got to find their way. And the best way to keep the family together is to hold space for them to grieve the way they're going to grieve, even if that means that they're delving into the things that make them feel alive and make them feel a little less pain, a little less lonely, a little less sad every minute of every day, all the time. Patience. And know that even if they do love someone else and choose someone else and marry someone else, it's not going to replace your parent. No one's going to replace your parent. They're not trying to, if they're halfway rational. But maybe this person that they're getting with could be a friend. Maybe there's somebody that could bring something useful or good to your life, even if it's making your parent happy, because that puts an ease on you in your life. And they're not trying to replace grandma or grandpa with this new person, but maybe they could be a nice person in your child's life. Hmm. There's possibilities of good things arising, but you've got to be open to it if it happens. Now, I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going to jump into the parent here. Now, I'm going to have a talking to with you, parents. Okay. So you're dating again. Your kids are like, Mom, Dad, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Or you're hiding yourself because you don't know how your kids are going to act and you are protecting them because as a parent, we want to protect even our adult children. Now, if you're being protective and you're not telling your kids that you're dating again, or if you're just out there in the open, you're like, hey, deal with it. Attending to how they feel with honest, effective conversations is going to be very important in order to help to maintain the lines of communication and relationship. Now, it might be showing them this video, but it also might be that you're honest with your kids and that you set some strong, firm boundaries. And that maybe even after you watch this video, you understand yourself a little bit better and you have some language to put around it. And you say, hey, I know I'm 70-year-old man. I know I'm a 65-year-old woman. I know I'm a 50-year-old widowed person. Okay, whatever. And I'm still here. And frankly, I know it's hard to understand. You say this to your kid. I know it may be hard to understand. And I'm glad you don't understand what it's like on this side of the loss. But you've got to know that the love I had for your father or your mother is unending. Me loving someone else or even wanting to love somebody else will never negate or take away from anything that was created in our lifetime. Will never take away from the love that I had for them and still have for them. Because our bond is eternal, darling. But I'm still here and I'm not here to be, my sole purpose in still being here is not to suffer as a lonely widow for the rest of my life if that's not what I want. I desire companionship. I don't want to wake up lonely every morning. And I know it seems soon for you for me to start to get out there, but darling, you have the rest of your life ahead of you. You have another 50 years minimum ahead of you. May you live long and prosper. I don't have that much time left, and I know how precious every moment of my day is. And I don't want to waste any of it with some preconceived notion of how much time one should grieve before doing anything else. Because in a year, 2 year, 3 years time, I'm going to be 3 years older, and that's 3 years I've lost on living because I'm trying to hold to some standard that I didn't set. I've lived long enough to understand what healing can look like, and I can live with a limp. I lived with this bad back for 30 years. I'm still going. And so you do. I'm asking you, you said your kid, I'm asking you to be patient with me. I'll try to maintain communication, but you've got to know I'm trying to figure out who I am now after the loss of your parent, my wife, or my husband. And I don't know what that looks like. I've never been widowed before, and I don't know how to do this either. But I will tell you this, I love you. And no matter what I do, that will not change my love for you. You will not lose me. And if you feel I've gone too far from you because you miss me, let me know. But also understand I will be busy with things. I am going to be dating, entertaining. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do things that bring me some joy so I don't have to sit in the darkness of my pain all the time. And it's not that I don't feel it, because I do. I carry it with me all the time. But when you've only got so much life left to live, you live it in a concentrated way. When you're young, you live it in a diffuse way because you have your whole life ahead of you. I don't. So if I look like I'm overly ambitious, I hear you. I recognize it, and I'm compassionate with it. And I also know that you can't know what it's like to sit in my shoes at this time. So I don't ask you to understand. I just ask for your patience. I ask for your continued and ongoing love, that even if you don't like the choices I make, you have a right to that. I respect your right to that. But let's hold on to our bond of closeness, of family, and know that you have permission to say, hey, Dad, Mom, I miss you. Dad, Mom, I'm concerned about this, that, or the other thing. I will listen to you, but know that I may need to make my own choice. And it sometimes might be in opposition to what you think is best. And that's my choice to make. And I will still love you. Right? This is, you want to always come back to laying this foundation. You're not losing me. Because sometimes the adult child feels like they're going to lose their parent too. You know, they turn into a little kid inside and go, I've already lost mommy or daddy. Now I'm going to lose my other parent too. And I'm scared and alone in the world. Like we revert to that inside emotionally. This is the emotional response that comes out, even with the adult child, because we all have the inner child in us that feels scared and alone when we're threatened. And you, as the adult remaining parent, you may not be able to take care of their grief. And so you want to protect them by sheltering them from your relationship status or your dating status or whatever. And what I advise is that you let them know you're going to date and have this kind of conversation. Warn them in advance. Right? Now, here's the rule. Communication experts say if you're going to give somebody bad news, you think it's going to be bad news for them, tell them the bad news first. Break the bad news first. Don't start off with pleasantries and how's your day and did you read that new book and how about the Mets? Like, no. Say, hey, I need to have a conversation with you. And I got to tell you something. Maybe it might be hard to hear, but I need to tell you. Let's have a cup of coffee. Listen. And then you tell them, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I can't sit in this space anymore. I am going to be dating, as crazy as that might sound. I want to meet people. I want to meet new friends. I want to travel. I want to do X, Y, Z. And I want you to know while I make these choices that I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to be or what it's going to turn out to be, but know that I love you and we're going to maintain open communication. But I need you to respect the fact that I am an adult. And then you have the conversation about how you're always bonded with the late parent and that's not going to change. The love is eternal. You loving somebody else adds more love to the world. Adds more love. It does not take away from any love that has been or that continues to be. You're just making more love. But we don't necessarily have the right to judge because we don't know what it's like for the other person. Even as your kid watching you date, you don't know what it's like for your kid. And you need to be compassionate to that, which is where you start off with a compassionate conversation and you set a firm boundary. But you explain because this is your child and you want not because you owe them an explanation, but because you love them and you want to maintain a relationship with them and not have it be destroyed because they don't want to lose you too and you don't want to lose them. But sometimes when people are scared and afraid, they withdraw, they criticize, they attack because they're scared of losing. So we do the exact thing that creates what we don't want, which is separation. So guard against it, start early. And if it's already happened and you're already in a state of disrepair, know that repair is possible with with loving, authentic communication. You start with your I statements. It's me. You talk about yourself, not all about me, but I feel this. I have experienced this. This is my understanding. And then ask for understanding from the other person. What has this been like for you? And maybe you're the adult person. You ask your parent, what's this been like for you? Mom, dad, to wake up lonely every morning. I maybe haven't been as compassionate as I could be. I know, I'll tell you right from my own personal experience. Now, by the age of 42, I had lost every relationship type that there is except my child. Okay. So I'm widowed, lost both parents, siblings, cousins, best friends, colleagues, all the things. But a lot of loss. And when my dad died, and I walked in, this is before I had been widowed, and I was about 31 years old. I walked in and I saw my mom sitting in bed, and the other side of the bed was just flat and unslept in. And she looked so lonely. I'm like, she looks so lonely. And it just broke my heart because I realized at that moment the depth of that aloneness and what that might be for her. And it was maybe always going to be like that. And when she actually ended up reconnecting with an old love. She'd been actually engaged when she was very young and it didn't work out. They never got married, but he'd always been in her heart. I mean, I even knew who he was because she talked about her youth and her stories. And there she reconnected with him on the internet. And I said, Mom, this was, a couple of years later, Mom, why don't you and Jack meet? Why don't you meet up? And I was encouraging with her, meet me with Jack. Mom, go be with Jack. You know, it's like, this life's too short for sadness. This life's too short for separation. This life's too short for people to fighting with each other. Stop fighting with your mom or your dad. Stop fighting with your kids. Stop hiding from your kids. And know that your bond is stronger than all of this stuff if you just communicate with one another honestly and lean on the love that you have, the relationship that you have. Honor them. And kids might be worried about how you're spending their inheritance, just to put it crudely, but, you know, maybe that's not your intention. Maybe you're like, hey, I worked all my life. I'm going to do whatever I want with my money. And you have a right to do that. You don't have to leave anything to anybody if you don't want to. They want to have their money, they can make their own. Okay, that's the bottom line. But most families want to leave a legacy or share things as they go along. So you talk to your kids about it. Say, hey, look, I'm protecting the things I want to leave to you. And this is how I'm doing it. And if you're not protecting it and you're dating and thinking about marrying, you need to do that. If you care to leave something to your kids, you need to do that. Don't put it off. I know you've dealt with a lot and all the estate and all the things, but if you truly want to share life with someone and maybe marry again or bring them in where they're spending your money with you, protect the assets that you want to share. I'm just saying that. Okay. And then tell your kids how you're protecting what you want to leave to them. Because it's not about greed. Hopefully, it's not about greed on anybody's side, but it's about, do you still love me? Am I still important to you now that the other parent's gone? Do I still matter? Do I still have you? Because I don't want to lose you too. And maybe you tell your parent that authentically, vulnerably. Share what you really feel rather than your criticism. Dad, Mom, I'm so scared I'm going to lose you too. I don't even know who you are right now. I'm grieving and I want to turn to you for love and support. And you're grieving too. And you can't give me what I need. And I see that. And I'm so sorry that we're in this place because of the loss of the parent. I'm so sorry. Can we stay connected? Can we still talk and love one another? This is what it comes down to for all of you is how are you going to keep loving one another, reassure the bonds that exist between you, hold space for the other people to make mistakes. This is a part of living this human life. We're here to experience all of it, the pain, the sorrow, the suffering, the sadness, and the joy of living. We don't get to have the joy of living unless we understand what the sadness is. We have to know what joy and love is not in order to experience it. And if your parent wants to go off and do some things that bring them joy, even if it's confusing and weird and they're depressed one minute and happy the next, that's normal grief. We all have a right to love again. Can we all create space in our lives so more love can bloom? Because a lot of people will say, love stinks. Love hurts. Love sucks. But the truth is, love is the only thing that's ever healed us, brought us together, and gave life meaning and purpose. So ask yourself, how can I be a better daughter, a better son, or a better parent while respecting what I feel, what I think, what I need, and respecting them enough to share it with them respectfully, without blame, without contempt, without accusations. Share what you really feel. What are you really afraid of? I'm afraid of losing you, Dad. I'm afraid, Mom, this guy's going to take you away from me. I still need you. And to your child, I need you to see me as an adult, as an independent person with a life still yet to live, and that nothing I do will ever negate or destroy or erase the life that I lived with your mom or your dad, with the love that I had for them. And I love you, and that bond will also never be broken. Let's talk about how we honor that with one another and create space for us each to be grown ass adults. Much love to all of you. Bye.
Hold on, quick pause. People ask me all the time if I work with clients one-on-one. Yes, I do. I offer private coaching and consultation, and you can book with me anytime using the link in the description below. Now, back to the video.